1, 2. Yeah, I'm going to send it to you and we'll just open it from here. Yeah. Here's an email address for this accountant. You just send it to this email address here. Send it. If you've got presentations, you can just email it to this address here on this machine. Right? Yeah, you can just
I'll put it here. I'll just put it here.
Oh, here's a additional one. Yeah. You can just email your presentation to this address, eh? And you can just open it from this machine.
Oh, you open it. They got it at the bottom. They got it in the bottom.
Yeah. Just V Kupasemi with Mandela. Yeah,
Will it still come?
It will still
Okay,
come.
you have my address there. Mandela. Or your presentation.
You got it? Yeah, it's just this one here. V Kupasemi at Mandela.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Good, good. I know that it's been a long day and now we are almost full. We just had a lunch. We didn't have time just to make sure that everything digests very well. But I will really want your attention fully so that we can be able to have a productive presentation and also some questions if you do have. But I'll just allow one or two people, maybe just to get the engagement after the presentations. So we are kind of like running out of time in terms of our start. We're supposed to start at 2. Now I'm looking at the time now, we are almost like 20 past or 80 minutes past 2. But briefly, I just want to say that the person that is standing in front of you is Avela Majavu. She holds PhD in chemistry from Nelson Mandela University. So this is home to me. All right. I said I hold PhD in chemistry from Nelson Mandela University. I've done my master's here. So basically, I'm working at Sibanye Stillwater as a research and development chemist, and also being the SciAS executive member, of which when you have your PhD, you are given an opportunity to be part of the organization. So on my list, I'm just gonna start with you, Tobias. Yes, you are the first to actually give us the presentation. So can you please come up the... Where is the stick? Is here. Yeah, you can just use the stick then. It's still fine. So let me just do the check-in, and then in terms of my presenters, while she's coming up front, do I have Petla? Petlo? Tleko. Oh, Tleko. Oh, sorry. My apology. Because I'm looking at Peta, but I'm calling your name, sorry. Peta? Do you have Peta here? Okay. Mongano, we do have. Yes. And then we have Chizema. Oh, okay, good. And then I think you will you will come in as the third speaker. Yeah, because I want to give them the same, so there's someone that is not here, so you can just be on that. Yeah, thanks. All right, let me hand it to you. You only have 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or let's say 12 minutes for your talk, and then 3 minutes, or maybe say 14 minutes for your talk and 1 minute for questions. Yeah, you can just say where you're coming from. Yeah, thanks.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I am Christina Tobias, coming from Stellenbosch University. Excuse me, maybe I can just close the door. Yeah. Yes, so as I said, I'm Christina Tobias, coming from Stellenbosch University, currently pursuing my doctorate in linguistics. But I also have a passion for AI and technology, and that explains exactly why I decided to participate in this conference. So I'll be looking at AI, at Eurocentric AI and education, but particularly from the perspective of the digital divide, as well as how that very fact causes socio-cultural implications and adaptation. The digital divide, I'm looking at those very differences that exist within us and the other side of the world, to say the West, for example. So what are the core differences in information, in technology, and advancements as such? The gap in terms of language, education, and socioeconomic context. And perhaps we can go on to focus on socio-cultural implications that also exist thereof. So, but I'm sure most of you are now asking, upon emerging or delving onto this topic, how does then Eurocentric AI affect education, specifically in the African context? Well, we could recognize that there is curriculum misalignment, and that is to say that AI technologies not align with African realities or our specific needs and challenges as such, and that this there's a limitation of access to AI tools due to delve into, right? And this very fact tends to affect education, the learning abilities, and the engagement or the utility of AI tools. We realize that there are inequalities in access because if we look at our own countries, let's say the sub-Saharan continent, although we can also argue that the East is more affected by this because this is a personal sharing that I have also observed, and it's that, for example, in Stellenbosch, we have some students that are coming from Kenya, Ghana, and the likes, right? And not to be stereotypical, but you realize that people don't even want to have a conversation about AI because it's taboo, it's something of the West, right? And I realized that, is this because of we can also then look at the fact that the inequalities in accessibility thereof, especially with regards to educational resources of AI, and that there are biases in representation of AI. I don't know how many of us have used some of the AI tools to design, say, an official or very proper looking something. You know, you want to look like a businessman. AI integration, especially when we look at higher learning. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that, okay, AI is beautiful, yes, but I think we still have a lot of catching up to do, such that there are people who have a negative attitude towards AI. And for me, if you, I mean, for all of us, if you look for something that is in isiXhosa, for example, right, you won't find it there because it's not, it's, let's look at the element of translation, for example. Some modern AI tools may not necessarily be able to do so because they're not designed to do that. And that then puts us in the position to be responsible scholars and try to engage and review the curriculum and the design of things such that it caters for our own unique needs. Some of the findings that I've come across also is that just like I've mentioned already in my discussion, that there are disparities in AI adoption for the African continent specifically, and that there are limited representations in African languages and social cultural contexts. And for me, as a social scientist, I'm also prompted then to look at the very fact that applicability and utility fosters us to have certain attitudes towards our own languages, to say, if my language is not part of the languages of the internet, I might not be proud of my language because it's not the thing, it's not Eurocentric. okay? I've also come to discover that approximately right now only 28.7% of the African population is exposed to AI and can actually successfully use AI. However, rural regions are a little bit marginalized, and because of that, we are prompted to find solutions that caters for all of these problems. So I've come up with some recommendations and adaptation strategies, and it's that we should adapt AI technologies to incorporate African languages and cultural context. We should also invest in digital infrastructure. We should also try to revise the educational curriculum in order to include AI literacy, which is tailored for our local environments. And then we should promote inclusive AI development. We should also cater for support that allows for local innovation in AI technologies. And we should address social-cultural implications by researching and mitigating potential biases. We should implement policies and regulatory frameworks for the ethical and inclusive AI development. We should as well try by all means to engage stakeholders, as well as monitor and evaluate the impact. And last but not least, also promote international collaboration in order to share the best practices and adapt strategies for local context, because the issues in Europe, the AI issues in Europe are not the same AI issues in Africa. Our challenges are different. Why? Because of the level of advancement that we find ourselves. So it's a question of resource and exposure as well. But I do believe that we are trying our best to get there. For example, in our own African continent, we have so many applications that scholars are developing. Is that not an effort? Right? So in short, that's simply my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anyone who have a question for her? All right.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, presenter. I really liked the presentation. You touched on, quite a very topical issue, and especially the issues of AI and culture that you were touching on. I'm not very much of an experienced AI person. I come from, urban and regional planning. But probably something that might be of interest could be maybe when we say the topic is on Eurocentric artificial intelligences and education, right? Probably maybe a very strong way of categorizing this AI. What do we mean by when you're saying AI in this particular context of your paper? If you sort of try to come up with categories of AIs that are used particularly in education, and then you interrogate along those lines after being very strong on, when I say AI in education, I mean, is it for research? Is it for generating information? Is it for that kind of category? I'm sure it will be a very strong piece of work. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay. Do you want to take this one?
Thank you so much for that contribution. And yes, AI actually, just for the sake of time, they already do exist in divisions as such, right? The strongest one right now is Gen AI, which is for content generation. And there are so many of them. And an interesting thing that I've come across is actually that the folks who are developing AI in the West, every day of their lives are fighting so hard to generate more ways of using AI, for me, I'm just like, I think this is a reflection of our arrival towards the fourth industrial revolution, because it's highly characterized by technology, Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we had a question in the back.
I don't know if it is a question or perhaps just something to discuss. I think universities or institutions of higher learning, are they not in denial that generative artificial intelligence is here to stay, and are we embracing the idea of generative artificial intelligence? Because you realize, for example, universities are not having policies on the ethical issues or use of generative artificial intelligence. But it appears there are other, I don't know, I'm not an IT person, whether there are applications like, what do you call this one that also edits your work? Not the chat GTP. There's,
The Grammarly.
yes, it appears that there are other forms of artificial intelligence that are acceptable to use. Then it's not so clear whether we are adopting other forms of generative artificial intelligence, like the chat GTP. It appears it's discouraged, but other forms are encouraged to use. I'm not just sure about that. I just thought maybe I could raise that as well.
Yeah, you can just quickly wrap up.
All right. Yes, on that, I think right now institutions, especially institutions of higher learning, are also trying their very best to develop modes of ensuring that AI is not the thing that does the work on behalf of the student, but as an assistive tool or a collaborator with the student. You understand? And some of the studies have been done around how does then AI impact research supervision, for example. It does have a drawback, but overall, I think it makes life a lot easier. And the question that I'll leave with you, with all of you, is that when you use AI, are you still the core and authentic owner of your work? Or do you allow it to take lead? And when you're done, is the degree yours or ChatGPT's?
All right, thank you so much. We really appreciate your effort and the time that you spent for this presentation. Can you just give a round of applause for her? All right, I'm just gonna call Bitleko. Petla, are you Petla? Oh, okay. What's that? Escape. Oh, escape. Yeah. Thank you. Minimize that. Where did you save it? Did you save it?
Greetings, everybody. I'm so sorry. I hope I'm audible. I had a flu for quite a long time, so my voice is still recovering. But I'm Batabile Ntlego, and I'm from both the HSRC disadvantaged universities, which really affects me as a person that is interested in socio-economics. So I'll be actually looking at bridging the digital divide in those historically disadvantaged universities to see how they can be addressed and how can the students or the moving into. So, sorry, I need to remove this thing. For my introduction, it is very much clear that digital technology is taking place in education. It is something that is very much used. Technology is now taking areas of all our aspects of life, and because of the disadvantages that some of the universities are facing, it is actually creating some gaps or inequalities compared to well-resourced universities. And the definition that I have for this study based on a digital divide, I said it refers to the gap in access to and effective use of technologies, such as inequalities in access to technology, digital literacy, and academic use. And this mainly affects students' performance, faculty development, and institutional growth itself. Moving on to the problem statement, as I've said, that digital divide remains a critical barrier in educational equity. So the challenges in HDIs, historically disadvantaged institutions, it is that they have limited access to modern technological tools, and also they have inadequate digital literacy among students and faculties themselves. And then also they do not have enough support to integrate the digital resources that they need. And then the consequences of this is that it affects the academic performance of students, so their academic success rates drop in a way, and also because the world has moved to technology and it has advanced, that everybody has to know how to be digitally literate. So it affects their employability as well, and also it increases the socio-economic inequalities that we're already trying to deal with. And then so this study actually looks into achieving these objectives, which is to examine the extent of the digital divide in disadvantaged universities, analyze its impact on academic performance, faculty development, and the growth of the institution, and also to propose solutions to address these challenges. And then these are two theories that are founded, that this study is founded upon, which is digital theory divide and technology acceptance model that I'll just move through. And then this is the methodology of the study. So this study is actually based on a systematic search of academic databases. We did a comprehensive literature review search, and then we synthesized findings from the source, from the literature that was obtained. And then the time frame was studies done in 2000 to date. The reason behind that is because there is no much studies done under digital divide and historically disadvantaged. So I wanted to get more source, because if I take it back to 2000, and then the sources were peer-reviewed articles, conference papers, as well as some reports. And then so the search was actually, I used the following key terms, which was digital divide, technology access, digital literacy, educational outcomes, and then historically disadvantaged university. And then, so the focus was on what is mentioned, and as I've mentioned also, the quality of the sources was ensured. It was through ensuring that the articles are peer-reviewed. And then in terms of data, in terms of the analysis, we identified the key themes, the themes that I've already mentioned, and then we categorize those findings according to the objectives of the study, and then we move on to the findings and the recommendations that I'm getting into now. So in terms of these are the findings. In terms, when it comes to barrier to access, in terms of technology access, we find out inadequate funding, a geographical isolation, and socioeconomic factors limit access to technology and reliable internet connectivity. And then this gap is found both in students and the faculty itself, because they both lack sufficient digital skills. And then when it comes to its impact on academic performance, we found that poor academic performance is due to limited access to online learning tools, because there was a time where, especially in COVID, we moved to online learning, but those who were in HDIs, they really couldn't participate in those activities of online learning. Even as now that the assignments are done online, we submit online, they still find it a struggle to do all those kind of things. So, and then they have low engagement, and their employability chances are actually affected in a way. And then also they have challenge in adopting we found that when the institutions at least try to introduce the online system and the way of using digital tools, they have a challenge of adopting that because they do not have a background of such, so it becomes a struggle. There's another author said that they spend most of the time trying to understand what is being done than focusing on the studies. And then, moving along to another challenge of finding was that the faculty face limited opportunities for training in digital pedagogy because they do not have sufficient infrastructure and equipments that they need, and then that hinders them to adopt the innovative teaching methods in that area. So to my discussion point is that when it comes to social economic implications, the digital divide continues to exacerbate poverty and inequality in disadvantaged communities. And then the role of policy in this could be that equitable policies are needed to address digital inequality and promote technology access in education. And then moving on to my recommendations, it is actually investment in infrastructure, that at least those in universities try to upgrade hardware, improve internet access, because also some are complaining that even though Wi-Fi is there in the universities, but it doesn't connect and it doesn't help them in any way. And then also when it comes to digital literacy programs, these programs are needed for both students and the faculty so that they can focus on essential skills in digital integration in education. This mainly arises because there was a finding that said even the staff or the faculty members are not even willing to participate and to teach, or rather to teach online, so that the students get used into doing those kind of things. And also there was another finding to say that is mainly raised by the fact that most of the faculty workers or staff members are usually the workers or staff that usually attended those universities. For instance, I'm coming from University of Zululand, so it's a historically disadvantaged university. I do my undergrad and all my postgrad there, and then I become a lecturer there, and then it's going to be very much difficult for me to teach students to adapt in something that I do not know about. So, and then moving on to the fourth recommendation is that there be a module, that research modules and computer modules be made compulsory for every undergraduate degree or diploma or whatsoever. And so to my conclusion, I'll just say, as I've said before, that this divide remains a barrier to balancing the higher education. And then we need to address this so that there is a balance, so that a UJ student can be able to work well with the University of Zululand student. And yes, thank you so much. This is still a work in progress. I would appreciate the comment.
Can you just please pass it to? Yes, thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Saniki. I'm also from the University of Zululand. So I wanted to ask you maybe the sample of your study, or did you choose, which university did you do your study? Did you choose a faculty, a department? Because if maybe you are referring to UNIZU, I'm from the Department of Communication Science, and we use we our students. Like most of my modules are interactive modules. We do everything online. They do practical online. So from first year, they are taught digital skills. We have modules, digital communication module from first year until third year, they are taught digital skills. So I wanted to understand, how did you come to a conclusion? That's why I wanted to understand if it was a sample from a certain department or a faculty or the whole university. And then how do you also classify a historically disadvantaged university? Like, which criteria do you use to come to such a conclusion? I just wanted to ask those questions.
Okay. Thank you so much. In terms of specific faculty or university, this study is actually not based on a specific university or a specific faculty, but I did my master's was based on University of Zululand, and I was actually looking at the academic performance of students, and my findings were like, for students that said they owned laptops, they were likely to complete their undergraduate degrees in time compared to those who did not own laptops. And then also for those who used labs, a lab, and then those who used internet resources mostly were more likely to complete their degrees on time compared to those who did not. So this recommendation actually says that it does not mean that there are no modules at undergrad on digital literacy, but they are, just that it recommends that it made compulsory for all degrees rather than communication science. I mean, you cannot do communication science without doing this module, but can it be done even when you're doing any other degree that is not related to communications? Okay. And then when it comes to my criteria on historically disadvantaged universities, it is actually based on research, that the universities that were formed, that were historically formed under the not whites, and those were disadvantaged. And as we move, it's getting integrated and all that, but they still remain in that sense that they were level of others.
All right, thank you so much. Can we just give him a round of applause? Just hold it. Thanks. Okay. Now, our next presenter for today is Shadrach Buchaku.
Yeah, thank you very much. What is going on? Is this technology fighting me? Okay. So my topic is adapting to uncertainty, indigenous strategies for water conservation in changing climate. Precisely, I wanted to look at issues around the use of technology in climate smart agriculture. Is it feasible in these communities, particularly in rural communities? Are they ready to use modern technologies? And also it accepts the reality that there is modern science and indigenous knowledge systems. So this is the outline of my presentation and definition of key terms. That's myself there on the picture with the blue top and khaki trouser in the field. Yeah, so on the background, global change is causing changes in precipitation patterns, and also that has many times resulted in droughts and floods in some areas. It also associated with warming of the planet, primarily caused or driven by the increasing levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Consequently, because these changes in rainfall patterns affects development as it affects key sectors of the economy, electricity, food security, etc., etc. And there are also other examples of the consequences that are highlighted there around energy production, food security, and agriculture. So this background then calls us to say, do we need to integrate modern technology into agriculture to help these communities as well, so that they are able to produce more, to generate more in terms of energy and stuff. So this is the reason why there are some reasons to call for the integration during this transition, as there are some reasons to call for adoption of new technology. There are also reasons for managing the transition during this period. Are we ready to embrace new technologies in vulnerable communities or underdeveloping communities? So it finds indigenous technologies often align with the principles of environmental sustainability. So to carry out this study, we followed a descriptive and exploratory research design, and this one was chosen because of its ability to use various research methods, and we were able to also address this topic that we feel it is well discussed but narrowly understood. And to select participants, we use a multiple stage purposive sampling. There were groups that were used. The first group was for key informant interviews. Then there were reflection cycles at the second phase of the study. So the analysis of the software that analyzes qualitative data. Okay, so from the findings of this study, there were several. It appears in this community, which is in Eastern Cape, Musovomvu area, it appears that people are not ready to use modern science. Although they appreciate its role in their community, and they are not yet ready to adopt it, there is still lack of trust in the use of this modern technology. So they are still in favor of exciting. They noted that we don't trust the use of municipal water. They believe that it has got some elements within it that makes the soil to dry quicker. They would rather use the rain water for their farming. They also, so they prefer rain water harvesting and also traditional irrigation methods, and also use of vegetation to retain soil moisture. These were some of the methods that they prefer over the use of, for example, the sprinkler irrigation. They believe that it also not good for the soil moisture of this soil fertility. Sorry. So we developed after a synthesis of the findings from the study. We tried to, because to say the truth, although there is still lack of trust to modern science, they appreciate certain elements of modern science. Identify the knowledge gap. There is need to engage the indigenous people, which we did, and co-developed an intervention to adapt certain elements of modern science. So on the application, which is co-application, co-implementation of the very results, putting research into practice, and also allowing the indigenous people, the local people, to champion their ideas in as far as agriculture is concerned. Then there is that suits specific communities. So this is my conclusion. Leading to a more effective water management solutions. So if we really want to promote water conservation, it's not about modern science being more important than indigenous knowledge, or this discussion or this study doesn't invalidate modern science. In other words, it appreciates both knowledge systems, both the modern knowledge, the modern science, and also indigenous knowledge system. So it's saying for us to have sustainable and for us to effectively conserve our water resource, when people are talking about modern science or innovation, new technology, people are always looking back and say indigenous knowledge is ancient. But from the studies that we carried out, we realized that it has been changing as well. It has been changing generation to generation. And this was also one of our exciting findings. To say on its own, indigenous knowledge is changing. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. You are right on time. Any question to anyone? Okay, 1, 2. Okay, we only have 5 minutes for you to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. I think that's an interesting study, but I think I want to ask a question, especially based on I think the last few statements that you have made. I think in this day and age, while we are busy discussing the issues of sustainable development and all that, can we then say, because I'm trying to see what you are trying to do, trying to promote, indigenous knowledge system. Can they compete at the same, same level as this other system? Because it looks like they are an opt-in. And I even look at your model, it looks like the indigenous people are only going to start participating in the process, while the so-called experts have identified, a knowledge gap is then when you bring them then to participate and co-develop and co-create, that. So can they compete at the same level as these other systems that we have, as we're collaboratively going? Because if you see the Sustainable Development Goal 17, it said that there should be partnerships, in order to achieve these goals. So at that level, can we then put the indigenous knowledge system to compete at the same level as these other knowledge systems that we have?
A very difficult question, but I still think we are not ready for people talk indeed about co-creation, and one who ask what is co-creation. If you have got an idea as a researcher, you come. Like right now we are having a conference. We did this together with the community members, but I am here now, they are not here. So surely our systems need to realign with the reality, because it doesn't start with co-creation. We should identify the research gap together. We should then co-create, co-design together, then co-implement together. When we fail together with them. The researcher, when I publish the article, the first question is their name there? Because they are also, they own as well the knowledge. So we are not ready in our systems, I admit, but I think we should keep on pushing that so that there is integration of modern science and traditional knowledge.
Absolutely. Is this mic on?
Yeah, it's
okay,
on.
thank you. I'm soft-spoken sometimes. I just wanted to make sure. This isn't much of a question, very intriguing, and it is very personal to me. I come from a community that struggles with water scarcity, and I have seen how powerful indigenous knowledge has become in communities that have lived for years and years without water. They had no choice but to adopt traditional practices, and these beliefs of like not being able, I think it takes a certain person to experience what it's like to be without water, to understand how someone can get to a point where they don't even trust municipal water. He mentioned during his presentation that there are people who don't even trust the municipal water because they assume that it is perhaps polluted or contaminated. We've had a case recently as well in Zanin. But I did a similar study in honors, and I was curious, did you ever consider approaching, because I looked at your system, have you ever considered approaching it in the sense of like involving traditional leadership? Is that something that happens in the communities that you were studying? Because what I've realized in rural communities, because the, I guess I'll say, apathy of the urban class, you know, the people who don't really understand the circumstances of the rural communities. What I realized is that they respect their leaders and they listen to them. And a lot of successful solutions that they came up with based on indigenous knowledge are because they're listening to their leaders and things like that. So I think it would be a really great approach to promote your study and to actually really elevate the topic that you're discussing. I understand that it can be a difficult conversation and there is a personal element to it. Like, I understand what it's like to be here and represent your people, you know what I mean? So I just wanted you to consider that and really, really think about involving not only municipal governance, but to actually look within the community and the traditional leaders.
No, thank you very much. I think this one is just a comment, but there's something I wanted to share with you. Indeed, this issue is very in communities. I don't know if you know, in Matatela, somewhere there, they are really moving fast. Traditional knowledge is overtaking modern science. In some communities, yes, they have made sure that they make use of those springs, natural water. They trust their springs. They now extract water from the springs and feed, you know, their communities. I mean, they harvest water from those natural springs and use it for drinking and etc. etc. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. I would like to call the presenter, Di Mohano. Did you load it already? Oh, dear. This is written just D, so I'll get confused with. All right.
So before we begin, because we were told that this is a forum and a discussion, so I just want to ask a question and, or maybe for you guys to raise your hands up while I define what health communication is. So I'll start by firstly that I can put some perspective or context into what it actually is. Okay, my question is there anyone in the room who feels like they've had an encounter or a health communication encounter? Yes, you can raise your hand up. Okay, we have 3 people in the room who have some form of understanding of what health communication is. But I do believe that each and every one of us has been sick before, and we have been to a doctor, a clinic, or whatever the case may be. And you have sat down with the public health official, and then they've helped you or assisted you with understanding what your condition is and why you were sick. So that engagement in itself is what health communication is. So you also, while sitting down, they can explain to you what the type of medication they're going to give you, how you need to take it, the dosage, and all of that. So that is part of what health communication is. So I hope now when you hear the word health pandemic, it has dramatically reshaped how health information is communicated. So the rise of digital platforms made it essential in distributing vital health information through digital platforms. We have seen the rise of misinformation and how people were panicking and all of that due to the health crisis. So engagement through digital resources engagement through digital technologies, academic especially, had also made it much more important to leverage your social media, digital platforms to make sure that you communicate and you engage with various stakeholders. So in the specific presentation, who are our stakeholders? So that is the public, that is your National Department of Health, that is your healthcare providers, and so forth. So these are the people that are stakeholders. And then we have the global shifts in communication. We have firstly enhanced utilization of digital platforms amidst the pandemic. So these unprecedented circumstances brought forth by the pandemic have led to an increase in the dependency on digital communication platforms as essential tools for the dissemination of health-related information. People wanted to search the symptoms that they were getting, why am I feeling this way, what's causing it, and so forth. However, this did not actually start with the pandemic. People have been using Google searches a long time ago to search for symptoms. So, in evaluating the role of health stakeholder engagement, we now look at the effectiveness of community involvement in health and other communal matters significantly. That hinges on the engagement of digital stakeholders. So here we acknowledge that leveraging digital stakeholder engagement is vital for fostering collaborative and informed community engagement. So I also want to touch on the fact that the African Union also outlines that in their transformation strategy that it is instrumental, the role of digital technologies is instrumental in driving change and growth and innovation within the continent, and health is some of those areas that need this change. So this strategy by the African Union strategy serves as a blueprint for integrating digital technologies into various sectors. Like I said, health is number one to me, sector that we also need to address. Also looking at it, we're also in the decade of democracy this year. So if people do not have equal access to health or even health communication, then we also need to relook what we are missing. So we also have to look at the digital divide. So the challenge is that the digital divide impacts the availability of health information to rural and underserved communities. So in this presentation, I'm looking at rural communities or underserved communities. So this gap in digital access hinder educational, economic, and health progress, putting this population at a disadvantage. So a key statistic is that only 1% of households in rural areas have access to the internet compared to your urban areas and more developed areas. So we still have a long way to go, but also we also need to look at that access to digital resources is not a priority for the specific groups. They have other issues that are much more pressing, so we also need to look at what they have access to so that we can integrate those into their so the importance of digital inclusion means that bridging the digital divide is not about technology, it's about ensuring equitable access to health information, essential services, and the global connectivity. So addressing these disparities is crucial for fostering inclusive health education, right? Because now once you equip people with the necessary skills to take care of themselves, then we are actually moving forward as a community. So we have the implications for targeted health communication strategies. So the impact of cultural, linguistic, and social factors on message reception. So now, as a country, we have issues such as diversity, right? So now we don't look at diversity in the sense that it's between those who have and those who have not, and the most common one based on race. So even in the rural communities or underserved communities, there is diversity within that. We have people who are in the same household who speak different languages, different cultures are now marrying, people like marrying each other and all those things. So there's issues of language barriers also, there's issues of culture that we now bring into one household. So where we address this issue of digital divide and equitable access to health services, we should lean more towards understanding these diversities within the specific households. So which means that we now need to look at the cultural issues. We also need to look at the social factors. The manner in which people talk about health is not the same as how another group will talk about it. Some people are not open, some are more prone to listen maybe to a healthcare provider than their immediate family member. So we also need to comprehensively understand the audience demographics, beliefs, and where they source their information. I think one of the speakers or a suggestion was made that we also need to include traditional leadership in this sense. So when we talk about health communication, then you include traditional healers. So the challenges and considerations in designing tailored health messages is that it is important to carefully understand or consider the potential risk associated with targeting specific demographics or individuals. So this involves ensuring that the messages are culturally sensitive, respect individual privacy, and do not exploit vulnerable groups. So it is essential to weigh the potential benefits of tailored messages against the risk of unintentionally causing harm or perpetuating stereotypes. So engagement with specific groups will actually assist to make sure that these stereotypes are not perpetuated. So in conclusion, I have outlined how to address resource limitations and scalability. So we need to leverage local networks and community leaders. Like I said, a colleague in this room has also mentioned that many people have access to phones, your feature phones, although they do not connect to the internet, but they mainly use SMSs. So when we speak of digital at that level, we can actually look at the use of SMSs, which I feel like the government has successfully done that with their Mom Connect, reminding pregnant women and new mothers to take their children for immunizations or reminding them of the issues of health crisis that may arise. So we also look at participatory approaches. So like I said, the use of SMSs, the radio, you find that women are working or people are working in the farms, they normally sing or to push the time. So that's where you can actually come up with a song or a chant that they can sing to while you educate them about health issues. So I'll just stop here and thank you for your time. I'll take questions.
All right, thank you so much. Is there any question for her? Can I get another mic?
Thank you so much for the very impressive presentation. Literacy can, or digital literacy and just mere literacy itself can be used to alienate and seemingly mute vulnerable communities insofar as health communication is concerned?
Okay, let me try, I don't know if I got you correctly, but when it comes to, when defining digital literacy within health, it is not merely about knowing how to read or to write. So if you were given a prescription, able to help yourself with that prescription or the information on the medication, right? So if it says you need to take 20 mils, what does that say to someone in the rural areas? Are they able to understand that this is the only dosage they can take, right? So when defining the digital divide also, literacy is thrown in there because of that reason. I don't know if I have answered you.
We will have a conversation.
Okay.
Anybody else?
All right, is there anyone? Okay, if there is no one, thank you so much. All right, I'd like to call E. Mutlaudzi.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure if you can see the presentation because I sent it via a PDF. But yeah, thank you very much. My name is Elmon Mutloti. I'm also from UJ. So I'm going to look at quite a different thing now. So I'm looking at how the use of social media platforms can be used to facilitate social innovation. So I'm looking at selected communities innovation. So of course, we cannot deny that technology has impacted every sphere of human life. It has impacted how we work, how we communicate with each other, how we even, to an extent, even participate in democratic processes, which actually at the end of the day accumulate to the decisions that affect our lives. So in Africa, we have about, in the African Digital Report, it actually reported that about 1.3 billion of young people in Africa are actually connected to the internet, which actually can actually, speak to a very big margin, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. But of course, as we celebrate these technologies, they also come with their own problems. There are new challenges that we need to face now, instead of actually dealing with pre-existing, conditions, unemployment, hunger, inequality. We are now faced with other, challenges such as your digital divide, your digital inequalities, online exclusion, which may impact even offline processes and systems, as we now, government and systems and public institutions are also trying to digitalize some of the system, and it means that those that are unable to participate in those online platforms may even end up, being disadvantaged. Now, I think the biggest thing now will be us what is social innovation and how technology can be used to accelerate this. So when we're looking at social innovation in its simplest terms, we're talking about a process where a community, without the involvement of the state, identifies social problems. They try and come up with innovative ways, like almost the same as the research that you have actually done. That is actually a process of social innovation. So without the interference of the state, they identify, they are engaged together and participate to come up with solutions. So it's a process, a collaborative process that can be used to actually, solve problems. Now we're talking about sustainable development goals and sustainability. It could be a problem. And in Africa, what I say is that we don't even have to worry because we've got mechanisms and systems in place. And what is it that as Africans we can actually rely on? Is that in Africa we use what we call communitarian approaches. In Africa, while the other person's problems become our collective problems in such a way that we approach problems collaboratively, which means that we can actually approach quite a number of things. So these, actually promotes togetherness, a communal approach to contribution of all stakeholders. Africa can benefit from this. Even in this day and era of sustainable development goals, we can still use it to actually approach and actually achieve our developmental agenda. Now, we look at social innovation, technology, and education in a communal approach. How can this even affect, even in education? So technology must be used to accelerate social innovation in a way that we must not use technology to actually exclude people, but it must be used as a way of integrating everybody into the system so that the social innovation can be achieved. In Africa, especially in Southern Africa, we must take advantage of our Ubuntu systems where, we approach things in a communal way to actually achieve this. No one must be left behind. That must be actually be the approach that we take. That instead of competing, we must also make sure that we take everybody along. And this, it means that we must share good practices and actually share, collective responsibilities. Digital skills must form part of public participation policy in local government to enhance the emergence of an active citizen. What we are trying to say is that when we develop policies or revise policies of public participation, there must be an integration and acknowledgement that technologies and these digital technologies must form part of the policies. They must not be an afterthought. When we have thought of all the methods and say, by the way, there's digital technology, which means that we must actually move towards a process where we actually integrate these technologies. Private, I know these days people talk about public-private partnership, but in this study we propose that we must extend that beyond just the selected few of the elites in public institutions and selected business people who can go and sit somewhere else in some island and decide this is our problem. We actually adopt to say that there must be public, private, and social partnership through social innovations to actually come up with this developmental agenda. We must respect and honor the social contracts. People have relegated the responsibility to public officials, researchers, and aspects that they actually have trusted all of us, with the responsibility of assisting them in finding these, solutions to their problems. We must honor that, social contract by actually always knowing that wherever we are and whatever decisions that we are taking, we are representing other people. Things, we can still use the very same process to achieve these partnerships and this collaborative work that needs to be done, and through this we can use it to actually achieve these sustainable development goals. Now, what are the recommendations? What we recommend under the social innovation approach, which actually adopts the Afro-communitarism approach, actually recommend that inclusive policies must be a result of social innovation and participation, which means that no one must be left behind. It must no longer be about public and private partnership. We must extend it to public, private, and social partnerships. There must be a move from government to governance. What do we mean by that? Is that in the process of governing those that have trusted us with the responsibility of doing so, we must constantly engage with them to actually check if we are still on track with the social contract that they've actually entrusted us with. Instead of just continuing to government to wait for the next elections, from time to time, we must check if we are still intact in terms of the social contract. Social innovative skills, research and engagement must form part of the basis for every policy in education. Even in education, and as much as we can think that we are expert in this, there are other social skills that we may also acquire from the indigenous knowledge systems. Just from time to time, it must be a collective responsibility that we take so that we can make sure that nothing is left unattended to. So public participation alone is not enough unless the spaces of participation are opened to everybody, which means that we must give people to access to the internet. We must make sure that we address all the digital, literacy issues that must be addressed so that the spaces are opened to everybody who cannot be physically or within that time frame can participate in that. This space must be open to everybody. Unless these spaces are open, then participation just remains a dream. So the quality of the discussion must inform policy directions, not the abuse of numbers. We know that we live in a world where there's participatory democracy, where we actually sometimes don't even see the quality of discussions. Those who are marginalized and fall within small communities tend to be left behind. We must actually start promoting, even on the digital technology platforms, the quality of the discussion, not the abuse of numbers. Technology transformation must not delay the progress in addressing the pre-existing conditions such as social, economic, political, and as well as environmental changes that we have in Africa. Lastly, technology must be part of every policy proposal, not just as an add-on. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Is there any question for him? All right.
My brother, you are very just wondering, based on your recommendations, do you think prior to that, in the African context especially, do you think there are some other issues that would first have to tackle before we can implement or carry out those recommendations as such? And if so, what are those in your opinion?
So I think one of the things that we need to, like I said in one of my statements that while we accelerate trying to actually, simultaneously with other problems that we've been trying to address in Africa, there are a lot of problems in Africa, underdevelopment, and all of those things, leadership, which I've got to do, because these things at the end of the day, they affect policy. So what I'm trying to say is that while we accelerate and talk and celebrate about, we need to accelerate. Now we need to move, from the third industrial revolution to the fourth industrial. We must not neglect the issues that we have failed for quite some time to fail, which means that we must go back again. For an example, the Agenda 2063 is a social contracts that actually every African leaders they have with. That's why I emphasize that from time to time, before we move to the next stage, before we decide, for an example, as the group of elites, now we need to adopt, the fourth industrial revolution or AI. Did we go back to the social contract that people have trusted with? Remember, this is not what people have not voted for us to go and ask us to start. Have we done what the social contracts that we have signed with the people? Once we have actually addressed those issues, then we can move with those kind of things. Hence, I propose that we must shy away from this thing of public-private partnerships. Where is the social component of it? Which means that we need to add the social component of it so that we can readdress those issues through collective effort.
All right. Just given there. Oh. So there's no other question for him? If there's none, let's just give him a round of applause. All right, we have our last speaker for the day, T. Chizemba.
Good afternoon. That seems very loud. But anyways, I'm Tinashe, and my presentation is based on Power BI. Exploration of visual analytics and its promises and pitfalls. So, what is data? Which explores methods for collecting, storing, and processing collected information, and how that collected data can boost organizational efficiency. So my main goals were to design clear and effective visualizations by customizing dashboard platforms. I chosen Power BI, and it's just a way to use real-time data as a visualization technique and as a data source for dashboard platforms. So there's various applications that are out there. Us here at NMU, we have access to Power BI. There's also Tableau, but Power BI is free, and you can access it, and it's also linked to any of the artificial intelligence platforms that you can get, such as Copilot, for example. So what is Power BI? It's basically a powerful data visualization tool. You can use it in business, you can use it in research, and it's developed by Microsoft. It comes as part of your package. And it allows users to connect various data sources to transform raw data into meaningful insights. And you can create interactive reports and dashboards. As you're presenting now, I could literally just pull this information also from Power BI. It's so much simple. You can even use qualitative and quantitative information. So simply put, it was designed to make your life easier, sparing you of a lot of tedious work and hours spent consolidating data, reports, and graphical reports as well. It offers a very simple interface. It unifies data from multiple sources. You can use data from Microsoft Access, Microsoft Excel. And then also, if you're that computer savvy, you can also use your SQL queries. It's also linked to our cloud services, your OneDrive, your Google Drives. Mainly used for your data-driven decisions. So there's times where we actually need to see what your output of your data is, and it can help you with your performance tracking, your operational insights. What exactly are you trying to bring out of your data? There's no point of sending someone an Excel workbook that's got a lot of ranges and values, but then what exactly are you graphically showing? So you transform complex data into understandable visuals, and you can improve your cross-departmental collaboration. For example, I'm in IT, and there's someone in HR, and there's no point of me sending them code if they need to actually understand what I'm trying to say in that information that I'm sending to them. So motivation is it's very simple to connect diverse data sources. It's easy to share your insights. You can share them. You can actually even link your emails and anything to it. You can never lose information because it offers cloud storage for centralized and accessible information. You can also embed reports, so at any point of your discussion, even in a Teams meeting or in a SharePointed meeting, you can just extract any report at any time. Simple dashboard creation. You don't need to have any background in IT. You just drag and drop components. And you also have an extensive library of interactive visualizations. You can choose anything from graphs, waterfall graphs. There's even graphs that I've never seen there, but you can just go onto the internet and add some more using Copilot and artificial intelligence as well. So when I looked at it, my objective was just to come up with some visualizations that I could use as examples, and transformations and analytics. So there's various data sources that I used. Since I'm from a Center for Community Technologies, I had one of my data sources was based on e-readiness, IT e-readiness at schools. The other one was based on malnutrition in communities. So whatever you do, you prepare your data, you have to import clean information, garbage in, garbage out. You create your visualizations, it's just a little button, and then yeah, you build your dashboard, and then from there you can publish it onto a Power BI service, so anyone who is anywhere in the world, if they have your link, they can have access to what you're actually working on at that precise time. And you can iterate the same process over and over again so that you can gather feedback. You can link it to Questions Pro, which is also one of the systems that we have access to here at NMU. So through your dashboards, you can also link to your surveys, and you can gather feedback to improve your work. On case studies, I've used Power BI in healthcare. When you have access to patient data analysis, it's easy for you to actually have improved outcomes in terms of, for example, how many people are in your wards, how many beds are available, what is your ward utilization rates. You can graph that. Your financial trends, there you have an opportunity to now even check your enhanced risk and assessments, your marketing campaigns, what is your return on investment, how much are you pumping into your campaign compared to actually how much return you're getting out of it. Your education, that's based on your performance monitoring and your better resource management. Do you have enough IT teachers? Do you have enough teachers in that certain municipality or in that mapped area? So some visuals. This is a typical dashboard that I created, literally drag and drop from Excel. You just choose whichever visualization you want to use, and there you are. You have your different graphs. For example, that one in the corner there speaks about children under 5 years, and it looks at their moderate acute malnutrition and case fatalities. Another example is on your educators. So for example, here you can see that it shows the sum of total educators by province. When you are live, all you have to do is click on Limpopo, and it will show which quantile that school is in, and it will also show also on this graph as well. So another example, you can also use geographical information systems. When you click on any point in the map, it also highlights where exactly it is, and then it will show here the total number of teachers in the school, the total number of teachers that are also dedicated to ICT within the school. Financially, with any product that you're using, and you want any statistics on it, you can have your sum of profits showing there, you have your sum of units sold. It also can check your segmentation of where each product is segmented into. Is it a private product? Is it a small business? Is it a government product? And you can also have any graphs that you can add graphs on top of and have an embedded visualization. So what promises have they been? So there's decision making. You now actually have an opportunity to have data-driven strategies and decisions. You can collaborate, which allows you to have improved communication across departments. And accessibility, you have a user-friendly interface for non-technical users, so anyone can interact with your reports now. The pitfalls, there is a dependence on accurate and clean data. If you're uploading information that is not clean, like I said, garbage in, garbage out. Complexity, there are some certain things that you need to actually get an IT acumen on. So there is a steep learning curve. The more you use it, the much better you relate to it. And then the cost, there are potential high costs for premium features of the app. And yeah, in conclusion, key insights, it helps you to uncover hidden data insights. It's effective across different industries. It allows you to stay updated with trends, and it embraces continuous learning. And yeah, the next step, or what I recommend, would be start exploring it. It's free, and it's linked to all the Microsoft accounts. Thank you for the time.
All right, thank you so much. Is there any question for him? Okay. All right. I have two hands.
Mine is not a question, but perhaps just an appreciation of your work. You know, I'm from a social science background, and when you are talking about social science, trained in a way that not everyone, myself, we are trained in a way that sometimes we shy away from technology. I mean, IT. Yeah, so, and I think as well, this platform is not commonly used, and by actually sharing this information, it helped to open, our minds on other options as well that are available to make our work easy. Thank you very much.
Please just add on. Yeah. Hello? Oh, yeah, sure. So I understand what you're saying. I'm just going to add on. So I loved your presentations on climate change. I am from the IT department, but I did a research on IoT sensors for climate change. So the IT side, and we actually also went to these rural areas, and I also used this TI. Only after graduating in December, in January, I realized that there's Power BI, and I was mind blown, because I mean, I could have used that other application to just add on to what was also added on. So I think it's a nice application to add on to, and it looks pretty. So. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask, like, I saw stats for health, so it was more of malnutrition, and then you get all those percentages. So because I'm looking at health communication, how can I make sure that I use this in a way that I will also benefit, because I'm looking at the communication part of things and not necessarily on the numbers and all of that.
Okay, so your question is saying how will you be able to use this service so the main thing here is to manipulate your data in a way that it's understandable to your stakeholders. So the only way, like I understand in your case, would be maybe if do you enter your information that you collect? How do you enter it? Do you enter it into an Excel spreadsheet, or do you? I'm not so sure. I'm asking.
SPSS.
And SPSS.
Yes.
Cheapers. I'm so sorry. But yeah, if there's a way that you can manipulate that information into Excel, you can.
You can.
And there's so many, I'm sure if we were to Google it now, SPSS also can be uploaded onto Power BI. Yeah. And then from there, you can access your information on the cloud, or is it a thing of you also want to share and show everyone what you have outputted, or?
That also, but can I also check the communication that happens on social media?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can. You can. And when you do subscribe, there's also, the subscription is free, and there's also a little tab to the right corner that's written AI Pilot. You can just talk to him. I talk to it all the time. Like, you can just talk like you're talking to your friend, and it will tell you what to do step by step.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like all the presenters to come up, and then so that we can just give a round of applause for them. All right, before I can say anything for now, I just want to thank you, each and everyone who has participated in this presentation. I've captured so many things that everyone have said, of which one thing that I've seen that we are coming from different background, and how you unpack it on my side is just an eye-opener, that in terms of when you talk about the AI, when you talk about the health communication, when you talk about the social media platform, data visualization, climate change, and I'm seeing that we have a lot. We have a lot that we are learning each and every day. I'm just hoping that everyone as well have managed to learn something from each and everyone. And I would love to see the future collaboration so that I can say in this team that I accidentally chair, then in the next future, and then I see collaboration. And then even on LinkedIn, I'll just encourage each and everyone just to actually be on a LinkedIn and tag each other if there's anything. There's a BRICS coming, you guys need to apply, which is gonna be in Russia. So we always advocate for the, I won't say the young, because or youth, let me just say youth, or the young adults, yes, I want that word. Yes, to actually participate on these things, and also being among us as we advocate, and also we go out and give the information for free. You're doing voluntary, you give it to the young generations, because you want them to be you at the end of the day. So for me, I don't know how I say thank you to everyone, but yeah, you've made just a very nice afternoon. And I just want us to take a group picture so that at least I can have an evidence. All right, thank you so much. And she's also asking for the presentations.
I've only received from 3 people.
Yeah.
I need 3 more.
All right.
Do you want me to just copy that to mine? Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you, everyone. I think we should just clap hands for everyone. Yeah, we're almost 4 o'clock, 2 minutes to 4. Sorry for keeping you longer than that. I think we're supposed to finish at 1:45, but yeah, we started very late. I say my duty is done. I think we are free to go. Thank you.
So you didn't send it to me yet? Oh, okay, no, that's fine. I'll reduce that. Yeah.